Global Partnership for Education, Knowledge and Innovation Exchange, GP KIX EMAP Hub, supports 38 GP partner countries in Europe, Middle East and North Africa, Asia and the Pacific region to strengthen the use of research evidence for more effective education policy and practice. The Hub is doing so by surfacing and amplifying knowledge and expertise that already exists in GP partner countries. The EMAP Hub is hosted by NORAC, the Global Education Center in Geneva, and is part of the wider KIX program implemented globally by the International Development Research Center in Canada. The webinar today is co-organized in equal terms with the UNESCO Regional Office in Bangkok and Office for UN Regional Coordination for Asia Pacific, UNESCO Bangkok, and the Asia Pacific Regional Network for Early Childhood, ARNEC. We will hear more about UNESCO and ARNEC's critical role in advancing ECCE in the region later in this webinar. This collaboration started some time ago and had as a highlight the recently published Asia Pacific ECCE Regional Fact Sheet. The webinar today is then a natural continuation of this partnership, where together we are making sense of the reality of ECCE and promoting the sharing of experiences, successful practices, and research evidence that can contribute to concrete actions to advance ECCE, as we all recognize the critical importance of early investment in quality ECCE, which, if sustained across the education pathway, can provide greater individual and societal benefits. The webinar today, and we have here the agenda screen shared, will start with the presentation on the ECCE fact sheet main messages by Catherine Wilczek, Associate Program Officer at UNESCO Bangkok. We will then proceed with two roundtables. First roundtable will be moderated by Catherine and will count with representatives from Ministries of Education in Cambodia, Sri Lanka, and Uzbekistan. We will reflect on the fact sheet findings and how these relate to their national contexts. And second roundtable will be moderated by Marina Duroforte, KIX EMAP Education Policy Evaluation and Learning Leads, and will focus on the resources and evidence available to support Ministries of Education in strengthening ECCE. The roundtable will start with a framing presentation by Joyna Fungu, Senior Program Specialist at GP KIX IDRC, and we'll then have the pleasure to learn from speakers from the Maldives, LAUPDR, UNESCO, and ARNEC. The webinar will have several opportunities for participants to raise questions and comments in the chats, as this will be addressed during the dedicated Q&A sessions. So thank you. Let's move on with the webinar, and it's a pleasure to hand over to Catherine.
Okay, I hope you can hear me well. Thank you for joining us today. I see a lot of participants have already joined. So the topic we're discussing today is fundamental. This isn't just another educational priority. It's the very foundation upon which all future learning, societal well-being, and economic prosperity are built. The decisions we make for our youngest children today will shape the future of the Asia-Pacific region for decades to come. So today, I will be walking you through the key findings of our recently published Asia-Pacific Regional Fact Sheet on ECCE, which provides actionable assessment of where we stand as a region. Next slide, please. So I think most of you has already seen the fact sheet. This is just the cover of the fact sheet. Next slide. Okay, so let's begin with the why. The purpose of this fact sheet is to provide a concise, evidence-based overview of the status of ECCE in our region. It was jointly developed by UNESCO Bangkok, ARNEC, and the KIX EMAP Hub to serve as a common reference point. We created it to support our shared commitment under the Tashkent Declaration. It highlights the key trends, the disparities, and the systemic challenges, with the ultimate goal of informing policy dialogue increasing regional collaboration and accelerating our progress towards SDG 4.2. Next slide. Globally and regionally, our commitments to ECCE are very strong. The 2022 Tashkent Declaration was a landmark moment, a unanimous recognition from 155 countries that we must transform our approach to early childhood. So this wasn't just a statement of, the ideals. It was a commitment to concrete action. For our region, endorsed by 38 countries, this translates into 3 measurable commitments. First, guaranteeing at least 1 year of free and compulsory quality pre-primary education. Second, properly supporting the dedicated workforce. So this means the teachers, the educators, the caregivers, who are the backbone of the system. And thirdly, backing these promises with real financial commitment, aiming for that critical benchmark of allocating at least 10% of national education budgets to pre-primary education. Next slide. Okay, so despite this strong commitment, the data reveals some sobering reality. So we're not just stagnating, we're actually moving backwards. Let's look at the participation rate. The percentage of children in organized learning 1 year before primary has declined from 84% in 2015 to 78% in 2022, and also projected to fall further to 76% this year. So this represents millions of children missing their critical window for development. And alarmingly, 56% of countries in the region are making slow or no progress towards the 2025 and the 2030 benchmarks. Additionally, 8% of countries, for 8% of the countries, we lack reliable data. This means that we're effectively unable to assess the needs of our most vulnerable children. So this is a risk that we cannot ignore. Next slide. Digging a little bit deeper, we see an uneven landscape in the region. So the Asia-Pacific regional average for pre-primary enrollment is around 63% in 2023. So this means that over 1/3 of our children are entirely excluded from any form of pre-primary education. So while Eastern Asia has near universal enrollment, other sub-regions like Southeast Asia, Oceania, and Central Asia are experiencing stagnation or even decline. And as we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic was a massive shock. 70% of ECCE centers had to close during the peak of the pandemic. And this meant displacing at least 7 million children from which we haven't really recovered. So furthermore, our policy foundations are limited, with only 6 out of 46 countries legally guaranteeing both free and compulsory pre-primary. So basically, we're institutionalizing inequality from the very start. Next slide. But we have good news. And actually, I think it's the reason that we're all here today. We all know that ECCE makes a profound difference. The evidence is undeniable. Attending preschool significantly boosts cognitive and social emotional development. So this sets the children on a stronger trajectory for life. Data from the Southeast Asia Primary Learning Metrics, or the CPLM, shows that by grade 5, children who attend preschool consistently achieve higher scores in reading, in writing, and mathematics. And the performance gaps actually widens at higher proficiency levels as well. Additionally, they are 15% less likely to repeat a grade, making our education systems more efficient. And then we have countries that provide holistic and inclusive ECCE programs, like, for example, in the Philippines or the mobile kindergartens in Uzbekistan. These targeted support actually helps to bridge the equity gaps as well. And, this proves that, this is one of the highest return on investment a government can make. Next slide, please. So now let's diagnose the root causes of the stagnant or the decline in ECCE systems is starting with financing. So the global benchmarks of 10% of the education budget or 1% of GDP are not arbitrary. They are the minimum estimated cost for a functioning ECCE system. But our data shows only a handful of countries are currently meeting these targets. So this chronic public underinvestment has created this vacuum, which are filled by the private sector. So the result is that 43% of children in pre-primary education are enrolled in private institutions, and it could be over 80% in some countries. And this creates a two-tier system whereby exacerbating the very inequalities that we are aiming to solve. Next slide. This is a second key challenge, which is the crisis in our workforce, ECCE workforce. So ECCE quality hinges on its teachers, but we are facing a severe shortage. We simply do not have enough qualified teachers. This leads to overcrowding of classrooms with pupil to teacher ratios as high as 70 children to one teacher. And many educators are honorarium-based workers, so they could be undervalued, underpaid, and lacking job security, working without benefits or access to professional development. So we cannot provide quality education without quality educators. So in order to transform ECCE, we must transform this role from, having the educators as just casual jobs into a respected profession with decent working conditions, with fair wages and clear career pathways. Next slide. And we also have the third and also the fourth major challenges, inequality and climate vulnerability. So disparities by wealth, by location, disability, gender, ethnic minorities, these children encounter greater barriers and further deepening the inequalities in their developmental outcomes. For example, in Nepal, a child from the poorest household has less than half the chance of attending pre-primary school compared to a child from the richest family, which has a parity index of just 0.53. So, and also now an existential threat amplifies these inequalities. So that's the climate crisis that we're facing today. Asia Pacific is the world's most disaster-affected region. Approximately 538 million children aged 0 to 8 live in countries facing extremely high climate risk. From floods to cyclones, these disasters can cause trauma. It causes displacement and also a profound disruption to education. And this has lasting impacts on cognitive and physical development of children. So building a climate resilient ECCE is not optional. It's actually very essential. Next slide. So what can be done? The fact sheet provides clear multi-pronged call to action. First, increase investment. So we must strategically allocate funding to meet the 10% benchmark, targeting public resources to expand access and expand the quality of ECCE. Second, to empower the workforce. So we should we should invest in teachers through trainings, fair wages, professional status, in order to attract and retain skilled workers. Third, expand access for the vulnerable. So we must use multi-sectoral approaches to deliberately reach the most marginalized. For example, children in conflict zones, those with disabilities, those in remote locations. Fourth, we must bridge the data gap. We need robust data, especially for the age group of 0 to 3, to track progress and also to target interventions effectively. And of course, last but not least, promote climate-sensitive ECCE. So we must integrate ECCE into climate adaptation and disaster risk reduction plans. So this is an integrated plan for transformation that requires coordination, a very coordinated and multi-sectorial effort. Next slide. So just to conclude, we are at a crossroads. So the current trends are moving in the wrong direction. And without urgent action, we do risk failing a generation. But we're not without guide. We have the Tashkent Declaration, which has given us the mandate, and also we have this fact sheet, which provides the diagnosis and the plan. So we have the evidence and we have the collective commitment. So let's work together to transform our ECCE system and give every child in Asia Pacific a strong foundation that they deserve. Next slide. Oh, okay, that's it. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you once again for your commitment to early childhood. And I do encourage you to all download the fact sheet if you haven't done so. And you can use the fact sheet in your advocacy work, in your policy work as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing such a valuable insight on the state of ECC. And in a presentation, I think you have clearly highlighted the current, both the progress made and the urgent gap we need to address altogether. And also, thank you for reminding us that investing in early childhood care and education is not optional. It is the foundational for the lifelong learning and equity. Now we have 5 minutes for the question answer session, and I see few questions in the chat, but in the interest of time, we will take 1 or 2 questions now, and few questions also we have received by the registration. So let me start with the first question that we have received from the participant and during the registration as well. In the fact sheet that you saw that there is a decline in the ECCE attendance. So what do you think are the main drivers behind this reversal, especially the post-COVID period? Catherine, over to you.
Yes, thank you so much, Siva. So I think this is a critical question. And, it's a very stark situation because there's, this decline in ECCE attendance. The decline is actually due to many different factors. Primarily, the COVID-19 pandemic was a massive disruptor, I have to say, because, as we saw just now, it forced 70% of ECCE centers to close in the region. And this meant displacing at least, 7 million children that went without education. And of course, many never actually returned to the ECCE centers. So also this was compounded by the chronic underfunding, as I mentioned, and it's you can see in the fact sheet, which meant that systems lacked the resilience to reopen fully and to support the families to bring the children back to the pre-primary education. And also, of course, we have things like economic pressures and, households post-pandemic have likely pushed ECCE kind of down the list of priorities for the most vulnerable children. So yeah, it's actually not just a single cause, but from many areas such as health, economic, and actually systematic limitations.
Thank you so much. And the second, I think you have already highlighted this, that the shortage of teachers, which is really a alarming issue across. And what are some of the concrete ways that we can really attract and retain qualified ECCE teacher? Any thoughts? And if any reference that you can take from the fact sheet as well. Catherine, over to you.
For the teacher shortage, this is also quite alarming. So it has to start with professionalization and recognition. So we have to stop viewing ECCE work as, babysitting or, we have to treat it as the skilled profession that it is. Some concrete steps could include decent work conditions. For example, offering fair wages, offering job security to the educators, offering benefits that are comparable to other school teachers. Also, they should be able to have clear career pathways. So by creating these pathways for professional growth, I think the teachers will feel more empowered. Also, training is very important. Both pre-service and in-service training. So expanding access to quality training with a focus on inclusive practices and even social and emotional learning as well, because I think this will make the job more rewarding for the teachers and also more effective as well for the whole ECCE system. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So thank you. Thank you so much, Catherine, once again. And I request all participants, if you have questions, please share them in the chat and we'll definitely try to address them later or include them in the event's highlights. So now let's move to the next section. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Siva, and thank you to all the participants that raised the questions. Actually, I think if we have any unanswered questions, we may collect them and have a Q&A sheet that we can upload later to the website, and you can access them. So let's now move on to our first roundtable discussion. So this would be focusing on the Ministry of Education perspectives. So the data that we saw just now from the fact sheet are not just numbers, on a screen. It represents real life challenges and opportunities with our education system. So the fact sheet gives us, the what and the why already. So now we need to dig into the how at the country level. So we are very incredibly privileged to have with us today 3 distinguished officials from across the region. We have Uzbekistan, Sri Lanka, and Cambodia. So who are in the front lines of turning policies into practice. So without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker. Please welcome our first panelist, Ms. Lola Miradeva, the Director of the Department of Coordination of Preschool Education at the Ministry of Preschool and School Education in Uzbekistan. Over to you, Ms. Lola.
Здравствуйте, дорогие участники. С вашего позволения,
Good morning, dear participants. With your permission, I will be speaking Russian. I think we have interpretation, so it is going to be okay for everyone. First of all, I'm very happy to see you at today's meeting, and it's a great honor for me to speak at a webinar dedicated to ECCE in Asia Pacific, and with your permission, I would like to share some data about the implementation of Tashkent Declaration in Uzbekistan. As you probably know, the population of Uzbekistan is over 38 million people, and over 3 million are people of the preschool age from 3 to 7. The annual population growth is also about 3 million. And this year, the expected population growth in the age of children between 0 and 3 is going to be about 1 million. So this actually imposes a huge responsibility on us to involve as many children as possible in the ECCE system. Thanks to the efficient policy of our president, Mr. Mirziayev, support to preschool education is one of the priorities of the governmental policy, because we do understand that early childhood development is a foundation of the future of the country. So in the recent years, we have increased the coverage by 6% in the recent 3 years, and starting from 2017, we have increased the coverage actually by over 50%. And also,
доступа к дошкольному образованию на сегодняшний день 78% от общего
we
числа детей
are now providing ECCA to about 70% of the children population between 3 and 7. So, taking into consideration all the trends or the changes, the government of the country has started implementing a new policy targeting increase in the coverage by 2028. We have increased the number of preschool settings by 23% after the Tashkent Declaration was signed. So today, about 39,000 preschool institutions are operative on the territory of Uzbekistan. Together with governmental or public kindergartens and preschool institutions, we have a lot lot of private or family-based preschool settings, again promoting the development of preschool education. And this is not just numbers, this is not just statistics, this is a reflection of the fact that if preschool education or early childhood education is a priority for the country, then everything is possible. Because again, as rightly mentioned by the previous speaker, the preschool education system is actually a prerequisite for the successful future of individuals and the society in general. We need innovative approaches as well, and in our country we have so-called mobile kindergartens, and thanks to this model, children from distant areas of the country can attend preschool education and do not miss this very important stage of the education system. Also, we have early childhood education centers that offer two models: home visits or play groups for the children, and these centers play a huge role in the development of children before entering the school system, especially for children from vulnerable families and with special educational needs. And actually, the system provides quality preschool services to these children. And in the future, it is planned to have such centers in all regions, in all communities of the country, providing quality education to every child. Also, with the funding from the EU, we are now implementing a project to establish multilingual, inclusive developmental groups in preschools located in those communities where we have Afghan and Syrian families who are migrants or refugees who have come to Uzbekistan and who have children of the preschool age. And as a result of all these activities, for instance, in the city of Termis, we have 10 innovative, multilingual, inclusive developmental educational groups that cover about 400 children from refugees and migrants who have recently come to Uzbekistan. Another initiative is targeting children in distant, hard to access regions of Uzbekistan. So we have created a special transportation service for such children to deliver children to the preschool institutions and then back home. So this is actually an initiative that ensures that children have equal access to preschool education regardless of the geography of the place they live in. Also, we have INCOM and UMIC. These are unique educational institutions, centers that provide services to children with special education needs, to children with disabilities, and they provide rehabilitation and correction services to these children. Again, following from the principle of providing equal education to all children, some children from vulnerable families do not have to pay for their preschool institution even in paid centers. Also, there are special privileges for those children who come from families of disabled parents, also from vulnerable families who have monthly income that is lower than the average in the country. So again, another important thing is to provide decent meals and nutrition in preschool institutions, because this is very important for physical development of the children. So the government has approved a unified menu for all preschool institutions. It is based, it includes actually over 400 recipes and a special center for coordination and control over nutrition in pre-garden, preschool institutions was created several years ago. And actually, this is a system that supports the principles of preschool education facilities, helps provide high quality nutrition and meals. So the principals of the kindergartens no longer have to care about the nutrition themselves, and they can focus more on the educational component. Uh, Also, another important factor is the professional development and professional levels of the preschool staff, because actually their professional quality determines the quality of the preschool education as such. That's why the government has approved a law on preschool education teachers that actually sets out the roles and responsibilities of such teachers and educators, and underscores their important role in the education system. Also, in the country, we have 18 public and non-governmental and private universities who provide curricula for preschool education teachers, educators, and also there are centers that provide professional training and professional development to such teachers and educators. Today, we have about 180,000 educators in the preschool system, including 123,000 employed by public government-funded preschool education teachers and educators. And since 2024, the government has been implementing a new qualifications system for preschool professionals in order to create some motivation and support them in their professional development. Also, the salaries of preschool teachers has increased by 70%, and also the salary of the principals of preschool institutions today is equal to the salary of school principals. This actually is the action or actions needed to attract young people to the profession of preschool educators. And professional development of preschool teachers is a priority that has a direct impact on the quality of preschool education. We have created 335 preschool training centers that provide professional development for preschool teachers and also support innovations. And in order to implement the innovations, all the preschool institutions today have so-called deputy principals for innovations, and they are provided with special training on certain days during the year And the educators, the ordinary the educators in the preschool system also have several hours of professional development or training over a week or over a month, which ensures continuous professional development. Also, there are educators in distant, hard-to-access regions who cannot come to capitals, to bigger cities to get their professional training there. That's why there are mobile professional development groups or so-called professional education and development buses. These are the vehicles that travel around the country providing professional training for teachers, educators in distant areas. And of course, educational reforms or changes are impossible without digitalization, because digitalization is also a foundation for quite high quality change today. And the government has implemented a special system to evaluate the quality of education using different international instruments and tools. In 2024, the first round of the evaluation was carried out, and the quality of education was assessed as high. And 94% of children acquire necessary skills in reading, in early literacy, as we call it, at the preschool stage. And this, of course, promotes also the efficiency of school programs and school proficiency later. Also, there is a special program implemented by the government to support the digitalization in preschool education and providing support to pre-education teachers with this purpose. And we have a special application created, which is called e-kindergarten.
Please, thank you.
And of course, I can speak for hours about the reforms, preschool reforms in the country, but I know that my time is limited. And the last thing I want to say is that children are the most precious things that we have, and they have utmost importance for us as individuals, for us as a society, and for us as a country. And preschool institutions are really responsible for the efficiency, individual or societal, in the future. So that's it for me, and I can share the text about the reforms in preschool education in Uzbekistan with all the participants if needed.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lola. It was great to hear all the progress and all the developments in Uzbekistan, especially after the Tashkent Declaration as well. It really shows the commitment to advancing ECCE. Thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Lola, please put into the chat. Next, let's welcome Ms. Udara Dikumbura, the Additional Secretary for Co-Curricular and Primary Education Development at the Ministry of Education in Sri Lanka. Over to you, Ms. Udara.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon to you all. In Sri Lanka, the responsibility of preschool education was assigned to the Ministry of Education in 2024. Prior to that, there was no intervention in this matter. Actually, the preschool education, early childhood education is a devolved subject in Sri Lanka. Ministry of Education, Ministry of Women and Child Affairs, and the Ministry of Local Governments responsible for this. Formulation and implementation of a national policy for preschool education came under the Ministry of Education responsibility according to the extraordinary Gazette notification on 25th November 2024. Then, with the support of the Ministry of Women and Child Affairs and all relevant stakeholders, we can able to draft the preschool policy framework. At the same time, National Institute of Education prepared the curriculum framework for preschool teachers. Academic Affairs Board of NIE granted the approval for this new curriculum framework. Ministry of Education is not responsible for the teacher recruitment and payments of salaries, registration and supervision of preschools, construction, maintenance and physical resource development, providing teaching aids, materials and relevant equipment. Provincial councils are responsible for these things. If I am talking about our new policy, there are 6 key areas. First one is equitable access to primary education, high quality primary education, professional development and workforce standards for primary teachers, parental, family and community engagement, data research, evaluation and documentation, and the last one is governance and financing. If I am talking about the current status, background and the challenges of preschool education in Sri Lanka, early childhood education is not compulsory in Sri Lanka yet. We are planning to incorporate this into our general education system with our new educational transformation. And up to now, this is not a part of our formal education system. Ministry statistics said that 4.3% of children entering grade 1 in our general education without receiving any early childhood education. And it is also insufficient attention to the holistic development of early childhood education and lack of proper coordination between the institutions, because many of these institutes are private institutes, some of conducting through the government. And another issue is lack of necessary facilities for legal enforcement, and inequalities in access and enrollment is another problem, because some rural areas and most of low-income people couldn't afford the early childhood education, and some benefits, the limited opportunities for special need children, and it is also a problem with quality of early childhood education interventions, and regulations and supervision is inadequate, and weak attitude of parents and guardians towards early childhood education is a challenge to Sri Lanka. If I'm talking about the next slide, please. Existing requirement, we now already draft the preschool policy, and we have to get the approval from the cabinet, and we need to systematically launch the national preschool policy, and we have to prepare the action plan for that to implement this in Sri Lankan context. And national curriculum framework we already prepared. From next week onwards, we can actually National Institute of Education can start the teacher training. Normally, we are doing cascading model. We are practicing that. Through NIE, we can able to train trainers, and after that, we can train all the teachers with the support of this resource pool. Then standardized teacher training and regulations we can practice through all 9 provinces. We have 9 provinces in Sri Lanka and 24 districts. District level training, so we can allocate for teachers because we have more than 19,000 preschools are currently operating. With comparing our school system, we have 10,000 nearly 10,000 government schools. Preschools are more than that. And we are planning to conduct a national preschool census and mapping. Next slide, please. According to our new education transformation, which we are planning to start from January 2026, age 3 to 5. That 2 years of preschool period is concerned as the first stage of education and a foundation of lifelong learning. Therefore, this is our way forward. We already draft the cabinet note to getting the approval from the cabinet. After that, we can launch the preschool policy and declare as it is a national policy of Sri Lankan context. Then we need to establish a preschool branch under my purview in the Ministry of Education. Up to now, I conducted all these sessions using my primary education branch. If I could able to appoint the staff and establish the preschool branch within this month, I can start, I can expedite the work. Then we have to finalize the education, preschool education plan and implementation it. After that, we have to prepare an act for this policy, table that and get the approval from the parliament. This is our way forward. We try to establish this policy framework with the curriculum framework within 2-3 years in our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Udara, for that great presentation. Also, very happy to hear about the teacher training happening next week as well. So these are great developments in Sri Lanka. And as we are short on time, let us finally please welcome His Excellency, Dr. Prakosal, Deputy Secretary General of ECCE and Director of the Early Childhood Education Department at Cambodia's Ministry of Education, Youth and Sport. Over to you, Prakosal.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Can you? Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to thank for the UNESCO Regional Office and the very happy to meet all of our colleagues this afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to share a key point related to the ECCE fact sheet in Cambodia. Next slide, please. Yeah, when we talk about the early childhood education in Cambodia, I'd like to update to you this afternoon. When we talk about the early childhood education in Cambodia, consists to the state preschool as a priority and the community preschool private preschool, and the also included a parental education program. This point we will add more in the short future about a child care center, because this is in the process proposed to the government to approve with the child care sub-degree as well for the I will share you in the next year. For this ECE service in Cambodia, we have this number. I will not count for you. We have the all types of the preschool services in Cambodia in previous school year and current school year as well, that are including public preschool and the private preschool and the community preschool as well. This is the ECE services in Cambodia. Next slide, please. I also like to share you related to the enrollment rate of the children in all types of the preschool in the school year 2024 and 2025. When we talk about it, I will not repeat the challenges that are shared by Catherine in the presentation. I just share about the enrollment rate related to the early childhood education, focusing on 3 years old, 4 years old, and 5 years old. This is a number. When we talk about the 5 years old children in all types of the preschool in Cambodia, we have 71.4%. And for the children aged 4 years old, it's 43, and when we talk about the 3 years old, a very small number, just 16.7%. This is very, because in Cambodia, focusing on the priority of the 5 years old as a priority before they move to grade 1 of primary school. But now the government consider put as a priority of the child care center will be increase more of the 3 years old as well. Next slide, please. I like to give you here is the key priority in the education reform, including the preschool in Cambodia. The first one, strengthening of the school governance. This is very important for the school reform in the school level, for the local level, that we need to support for relevant stakeholder in the local administrative. And the second point, we need to reviewing or revising about the education program, including put about the extracurricular activity to meet the need of the strengthening for the student knowledge. And the third point, we will focusing on of the student health through the nutrition support program for children and monitoring and quality of the food in school as well. And the fourth point is we need to promoting and encouraging the participation of the parent, guardian, and community to support in the education system as well. This is including for the early childhood education. As we know, we are here, we know about the importance of the early childhood education as the foundation if they move to grade 1 of primary school or high, as well as in the secondary education as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is some material that I like to share you in Cambodia, that we have the national curriculum framework, and also we for the preschool we have the national curriculum framework for the preschool, including public preschool and community preschool as well. And we also develop the supporting material. We work together with development partner, including UNICEF, Plan International, Save the Children, and the other NGO that work closely with the early childhood education in Cambodia. Like you see here as the pictures of the nurturing care framework. And also we just finalize the, the SEL SEL that we develop, and also we train to the our teacher, early childhood educator, about the SEL as a new that we need to integrate it to the preschool teacher training center and the other early childhood educator provide the in-service training as well. As we are shortage of the about the early childhood teacher training institute. This is very important that we need to integrate it of the curriculum to the pre-service training. Next slide, please. And the third point I like to share you about the opportunity, or we can say that the priority way forward for the to supporting in early childhood education as a priority. The first point I like to give you the holistic and integrated services among the multi-sectoral linkage for focusing on the social and emotional learning and the parent and also community engagement that we need to work together to support for early childhood development, increasing assessing of the, or we can say increase about enrollment rate, or also quality in early childhood education, especially in the preschool level. And the second point, in Cambodia, we have the 5-year education strategic plan, and early childhood education as a priority, as a one among the priority strategic in the education strategic plan. And this is very important that we work together among the development partner and also the stakeholder, government stakeholder as well. We put in the priority in the education strategic plan. And the third point I like to share you when we talk about the quality, we have the model preschool as a part of the preschool reform in the preschool level, and we need to put the policy and advocacy, legal framework, the public-private partnership to join together to support for the preschool level to be quality. And also the new finding, including learning through play or play-based activity will be included, and also the SEL also integrated in the curriculum in the school level as well. This is I like to share you in the Cambodia the flagship in early childhood education in Cambodia. Next slide. Yeah. If you need the more detail about the early childhood education in Cambodia, you can find the Facebook about the ECCE Cambodia, or you can send me directly. This is my my personal email as well. Thank you very much, Catherine. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Prakosal. Yeah, we've been working together a lot on ECCE, and it's really good to hear all these positive developments in Cambodia. So thank you so much. As we're running out of time, let's just have around 5 minutes of Q&A. Let me pass the mic over to Nalima Chopra from ARNEC to facilitate the Q&A. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Thank you to the representatives from the countries Cambodia, Sri Lanka, and Uzbekistan for the very insightful presentations and sharing the updates from their countries, about ECE. So in interest of time, I'll keep the questions short and one question per speaker. So I'll start with Uzbekistan. Lola, there are many questions for you in the chat box also, but I would, you've shared that Uzbekistan has made quite a lot of progress in preschool education, and that's quite impressive. What do you think are the key factors? Maybe you can share just one key factor which is behind the success, especially you've been able to enhance the enrollment rates in your country. So if you can share one key factor which can be also motivating for the other countries, they can follow it, and maybe one challenge that lies ahead to sustain this progress.
Thank you very much for the question. And I would like to say that a key factor for increasing the enrollment and in this area is the government's interest, the state's interest. This is the state's responsibility to expand the network of preschool institutions, and also providing preferences to the private schools to expand enrollment. Currently, there is a number of preferences and subsidies, for example, subsidizing children from low-income families, and private preschool institutions also participate in this. Also, we have alternate forms of preschool education, but all of this would be impossible without the direct support of our respected president, who has raised the priority of ECCE to the highest state level. That's the key factor.
Thank you so much, Lola. My next question to Udara from Sri Lanka. Thank you for the amazing presentation, and congratulations on, formulating the policy and including ECE in the formal education. We hope it will happen soon. So the question for you is related to you mentioned in your presentation that many children still are not they enter grade 1 without any early childhood education or preschool education. So the question in the chat box I saw was, do teachers in grade 1 face challenges when they're trying to support children who don't have any preschool background? What are the kind of challenges that they face?
Yeah,
and how are you addressing them?
Normally, our grade 1, our primary is going as 3 stages: grade 1 and 2, phase 1, and then grade 3 and 4, same teacher, and grade 5 separately. Normally, our grade 1 teachers are doing all literacy and numeracy things for the students. In our preschools, we are not practicing literacy things very much. Therefore, some teachers are face problem with the students, but anyhow, they manage that with the support of other teachers and the parents. Somehow they manage that. That is not a big problem in our country.
Thank you so much, Udara. Now, my next question to Cambodia, Prakwasal. Thank you for the amazing presentation, and so happy to see the progress that is being made in Cambodia regarding early childhood education. So I see a few questions in the chat box for you. It says, I'll take one. What is the major factor in enhancing the ECE in Cambodia? So what do you think maybe you can talk about one important thing that has led to this progress in Cambodia.
Thank you very much for the Dr. Nilima for your facilitate this Q&A. I'd like to give you the major factors in enhancing for the early childhood education in Cambodia, as the challenges that Catherine shared, very short number of the children in early childhood education that enroll to early childhood education. So the priority is the 5 years old children that we provide a priority that because they are the 5 years old as a priority that we provide the services before they move to grade 1 or primary school. This is the first priority that we we work together among development partner NGO that we created the community preschool. Also the priority enrollment is 5 years old children, the community preschool in the very remote area, rural area, that we select the 5 years old as a priority. And also we create the grade 1. We also create the preschool class in primary school, also provide for the children age 5 years old as well. This is the priority for our 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But now in the education reform, when we put the SDG for the period of SDG, we also provide a priority for the children age 3, age 4, and also we need to create the child care center as well, provide for the children before 3 years old, and that we can increase the 3 years old children before they move to the 4 years old and 5 years old as well. This is I like to share you the priority, and I can respond to the second question for the second question related to the problem. I think my answer for the major factor is included, like the priority we provide, solve this problem for the increasing the enrollment rate of the ECE children. We provide a community preschool as a priority that can go to very remote area and rural area that the public preschool cannot reach there. It's very important that we provide a community preschool. Mostly we work together with development partner, UNICEF support, UNESCO support, Plan International support, Save the Children support, work together with the government. And also we select the contract teacher. As Catherine and Nilima understand about Cambodia, we have only one of the preschool teacher training college. So very shortage of the preschool teacher who have the professional that we provide a training 2-year program, but we can select for the contract teacher that we can provide a short period of the training as well, that we can provide a monitoring support to all of the community preschool teacher as well. This is very important that I can share you the priority. Thank you very much, Dr. Nilima, for the.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we keep the questions coming in the chat box, and our experts will address them. Thank you so much for the insightful presentations, and I'll hand it back to the team for the next session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And after these insightful discussions with the Ministry of Education representatives, we'll now dive into the role of evidence and knowledge exchange to address ECCE issues. And this will be the second part of our webinar today. And we'll start with a framing presentation from Joy Nafungo, Senior Program Specialist at the GP KIX program at the International Development Research Center in Canada. Joy, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marina. Just to confirm that you can hear me loud and clear.
We can hear you well.
Thank you. Great. So yeah, it's my pleasure to be here today. Good day and good afternoon, colleagues. So as Marina says, my contribution is mainly to frame our conversation from the standpoint of evidence, what we are learning from research through the Global Partnership for Education Knowledge and Exchange Program, what innovative approaches are working, and how knowledge exchange is accelerating progress in real early childhood education systems. And I just wanted to congratulate the speakers from the previous panel and acknowledge that we are seeing strong commitment and we appreciate the strong commitment to strengthening early childhood care and education in the regions. So the question now, of course, is how we can use evidence to sustain that commitment, not just in that region, but also in other contexts, but also how to turn that commitment into sustainable, scalable action, especially for children who are still being left behind. Next slide, please. So just briefly, I would like to, just begin the conversation with some highlights from the fact sheet. And I know it was shared earlier, but we see that there's expansion of ECCE access in countries such as Vietnam, Mongolia, Fiji, and Bangladesh, and also an increase in community-based delivery models in countries such as Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands. So these models are impactful, particularly in geographically dispersed contexts where infrastructure, such as physical schools, is limited. So the fact that these countries found ways to maintain continuity of learning, even using low-cost or community-centered approaches, shows adaptability and resilience and commitment, as I mentioned earlier. But from the fact sheet, we also see that progress is uneven. 56% of countries are off track on benchmarks, and that access still varies sharply by wealth, by geography, and by disability. Just as a highlight, only 6 out of 46 countries in the region offer at least 1 year of free and compulsory pre-primary. So what does that mean? It means that, of course, while we agree that there's progress and that systems are improving, still large numbers of children, especially from rural areas, children with disabilities, and I see a lot of such comments in the chat as well, continue to remain excluded from ECE services. And so the challenge, of course, is expanding access, but also maintaining quality, because expanding only access without addressing quality and equity will not lead to the outcomes that countries need. Next slide, please. So why does evidence matter, particularly in this context? So at GPE KIX, we believe in evidence, and it matters because it helps policymakers to make smart decisions, especially under resource constraints, and we know that we have a lot of that in the region. Evidence also tells us what works, where it works, and what it costs. Very important aspects in terms of increasing access and quality. So we have seen countries such as Bangladesh and Fiji use evidence to inform sector budgeting and workforce planning. Vietnam and Cambodia, and we just had just minutes ago, have integrated play-based methods into teacher training because research demonstrates clear benefits of such approaches for children. Evidence also reduces the risk of trial and error reforms. It gives ministries confidence that the strategies that they are adopting can succeed in real early childhood education settings and not just in pilot sites. So when policymakers can point to tested models and costed plans, scale becomes realistic, and also not just realistic, but also politically feasible. It's easy to convince politicians to provide more funding or to allocate more funding when there's evidence that what you are advocating for indeed works. Next slide, please. So, and not just evidence, it doesn't stop at evidence. For us to understand how this evidence works, we have to share it, we have to exchange. And so why does knowledge exchange matter? And like I said, they work hand in hand. While we are producing evidence, we also want to share this evidence far and wide, particularly in similar contexts. So there's already several proven tested models, and we had that, and we're going to hear more about this. And indeed, no country needs to start from a blank page. Across Asia and the Pacific, and globally, we're seeing ministries and partners creating tools, creating curricula, going through curricular reforms, creating coaching models and community programs, and also costing frameworks that have already been tested. So knowledge exchange allows countries to learn from one another, and regions as well to learn from one another, but to adopt proven strategies instead of inventing new ones. It also shortens the time between policy and implementation and reduces reform fatigue. These can be quite tedious processes, but can be shortened if countries learn from each other. And then, of course, we have networks and platforms such as ARNEC today. We have KIX Hub, such as the EMAP Hub, that are making it easier for ministries and researchers to share what is working, learn from peers, and translate evidence into action. Next slide, please. So what are we seeing from the GPE KIX program? Sometime last year and early this year, we conducted a synthesis of emerging findings and evidence from our portfolio of projects focusing on early childhood education. And this gives us very practical lessons from real models about what works. So beyond just funding these projects, we went a step ahead in understanding what is emerging from these projects and what is showing to be more efficient, more effective in the context that we are working in. So first, and it was mentioned earlier, play-based pedagogy works. I want to affirm that as well, as we heard from Cambodia. So play-based pedagogy works, and just to highlight one of our projects, and I see the colleague from Plan International is here and he'll speak more to that. So we've seen in Cambodia, in Laos, and Tanzania that children are showing stronger literacy, numeracy, and socio-emotional skills when learning experiences encourage interaction, exploration, and problem solving. So it's not just learning, but in making sure that children are learning in a child-friendly environment where they can explore and they can interact with one another. Secondly, inclusion is achievable with very simple strategies such as low-cost sensory materials, peer interaction, and caregiver involvement. Again, we heard about that. So Nepal and Sierra Leone, for example, showed that children with disabilities participate more actively when teachers are supported with basic tools. So I'm bringing in some examples from Africa context because we tend to sort of focus globally, but also regionally. But some of the projects that we have been supporting are spanning globally, not just in the regions. Third, the strongest impact appeared when teachers received coaching. So it's not just about workshops. I know we heard about teacher training and teacher support. So it's beyond teacher training and workshops. Workshops are important because they help raise awareness, but coaching changes daily classroom practice. So very important to prioritize coaching beyond just the regular in-service or pre-service teacher training. And low-cost solutions can deliver high-quality results, especially in this particular context with limited resources. And this is very important for governments with constrained budgets. And I'm going to give a few more examples about this in a few minutes. Next slide, please. So what KIX evidence is showing, I'm just continuing this, a few more lessons that it's impossible to achieve both access and quality without proper costing, but also without data. I think we saw that in the fact sheet. So when ministries understand the cost per child or per classroom, planning becomes easier and arguments, particularly political arguments for budget allocations, becomes stronger. The other lesson is peer learning accelerates adoption, and this is linked to the knowledge exchange that I mentioned earlier. So knowledge exchange is very important, and we saw that in the synthesis. So when ministries see successful models in countries that look like their own, confidence and uptake increases. And that's particularly why we're here, is we're sharing experiences and lessons from our respective contexts with the hope that this will inspire colleagues from other contexts to adapt or to see what will work within their own context. Teacher confidence matters, which is also related to my previous point on coaching. Many teachers indeed know the pedagogy, but sometimes in certain contexts, some teachers do not have the confidence to apply this pedagogy, particularly in large or multi-grade classrooms. So Coaching, but also supportive supervision sort of helps them to build this confidence and to show them, to emulate to them how best to apply some of these skills practically. And finally, sustainability grows when governments lead. So we can be here, of course, as international organizations, but more important is that we need ministries of education and other ministries concerned with early childhood education to be present, but also to champion their own reforms within their respective contexts. But also to mention that reforms last longer when they're aligned with national systems, not run in parallel. And so when ministries co-design, they also sustain. And we need to see that leadership. Next slide, please.
Joy, I'm sorry to interrupt. If you can wrap up, our time is over.
Okay, all right. So I'll just quickly low-cost, high-impact innovations, and I'll not talk about this because we have colleagues. There's a colleague who's going to highlight this, but I just wanted to mention that, of course, the 10-week summer ECCE preschool program in Cambodia, Laos and Tanzania has been quite good in terms of just how to sustain low-cost but high-impact innovations. Next slide, please. So from call to action, which is really the essence of this conversation, the fact sheet reminds us that the ECCE sector in the region is neglected, particularly in public budgets. We see that there's only an allocation of 10% of total government education expenditure, which is quite low. And so how best to increase that financing, but also not just to increase, to embed it in certain aspects, such as teacher preparation, inclusion, and data systems. Next slide, as I wind up. So as encouragement, I just wanted to highlight that the region has very strong momentum. There are many opportunities already. Families are demanding access to early learning. Governments are reforming curricula and strengthening teacher development. And this is the time. And investing in school readiness is very, very important. Last slide. Just to conclude with these three messages, that there's progress, that the challenges we see most often can be solved, are solvable, and with evidence and of course with financing, that scaling requires investment in teachers and materials, and that as a parting shot at this stage, it's not just enough to say early childhood matters, but we must also invest in it. Thank you, and over to you, Marina.
Thank you so much, Joy, for this fantastic framing presentation, which will really be a good framing for our upcoming discussion. And I have the pleasure to now open our second roundtable, which will dive a bit deeper into the resources and existing research evidence that exists that can contribute to this discussion that we are having today. And I will start inviting Vilasak Virapan, Program Director from Plan International in Laos PGR, who will share with us a little bit more about the KIX research project Learn Plus, adapting, testing, and scaling the proven summer pre-primary model in Cambodia, Laos PGR, and Tanzania. Vilasak, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marina. Good afternoon from Laos. Also, good morning to everyone. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share our experience, especially the project related to adapting, testing, scaling the summer pre-primary model in Laos, Cambodia, and also in Tanzania. As Joy just already mentioned that in previous presentation. Actually, I don't have the presentation, but I will try to highlight the key point to share about as a development partners. So how we work together with the government, particularly the Ministry of Education and Sport in Laos, to advance the early childhood education service in Laos PDR particularly. However, I believe that it's my colleagues from Plan International in Cambodia and also enjoy this webinar. So if we have some more specific questions, so then I think we can respond to that. As in Laos, actually, we also facing the same challenges after the COVID-19. Then the attendance access rate also reduced. And then one of the key strategies from the Ministry of Education is try to work together with the development partners, not only CLAN, but also World Bank, UNICEF, Save the Children. So try to different modalities in order to provide some access to the hard to reach children, particularly the ethnic minorities children, to have opportunity to prepare for before they come to the grade 1. So one of the activity that I would like to share today is particularly about the modality that Plan International is working together with the Ministry of Education. The difference is because this model is a low-cost model, which is utilizing the existing resource. For example, during the school vacation, we utilize the classroom of the primary classroom that is available and don't use it during the summer. Also use the grade 1 teachers to try the provide a service or provide teaching and learning to the children, particularly for 5 years old, to prepare and then come to be the grade 1 student during the new school years come. Actually, this model is Joy already mentioned that it's we start with contextualize the material and then feed it with the quality framework of early childhood education of each country and make it suitable to every country. For example, in Laos, it's 10 weeks. In Cambodia, it's 8 weeks. And in Tanzania, it's 12 weeks. So this structure model has comprehensive or holistic development of the child, not only for education, but it is also for nutrition and also related to the protection as well. So it is also include the community engagement or parental support. So which I will not talk more because I think it's for the sake of time. But I would like to highlight on the point that is what would be the impact or the resource for the Ministry of Education in Laos to take it up. It is one of the research that we did together is it's very important is to do the research together as co-creation from the beginning, and then after that then evaluate together. Particularly that is we also learning from the experience, and then it is also need to be in line with the Ministry of Education. For example, we did the impact study, and also we did the feasibility study to analyze or mapping out what kind of the community that is suitable for this model, particularly in the small where the small number of children, and then it's not feasible to provide the teachers or classroom. So this model is suitable for this, and then try to mapping out the difference between this model with other development partners also model. So make sure that it is not overlap. We can do the feasibility study, and then very important is implementation research to develop the guideline tools, train the teacher, assessment tool, IEC material, video clip about how to use it, as well as the costing or planning tool, so that the ministry particularly, they will make sure that it's if they will plan it, so they want to know about how much of the budget is required for the cost. So this kind of thing that we work together. And then very important is it should be the government-led approach rather than the development partner-led approach, because it's the government partner will feel ownership if they take from the beginning, and then they also starting implementation, monitoring, and also assess the result. So yeah, we have been working on this project since 2021, and then up to 2024. Then during that time, the ministry engaged from the beginning, and they also present this result or this model in the Uzbekistan, the World ECCE conference, as well as the ASEAN ECCE forum as well. So we also use the result of the study.
Sorry, Lasek. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yes, time is up. If you can start wrapping up.
Okay. So we also present that in different workshop or key government event, for example, under the education sector working group for endorsement. So based on that, now the summer pre-primary has been included in the education sector development plan, as well as now also include in under the upcoming GPE system transformation grant, which is one of the things that I would like to share here. So thank you very much. Sorry for taking a little bit more time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Over to you.
Yes, thank you for sharing these great insights from the project and the progress that is being made in Cambodia, LPDR, and Tanzania. I will now hand over to another KIX research project, and that's focusing on a different context as well. And it is my honor to introduce Vissal Musa, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation from the Islamic University of Maldives. Vissal, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Marina. Thank you for introducing me, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak in this webinar. Well, I am one of the team members of a KIX-funded research project. Our project is titled as Scaling Impact of Play-Based Child-to-Child Approach to make preschool to primary school transition fun and inclusive. We call it SIPCA in short. Our project is a consortium of 3 countries, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. And from Maldives, the Islamic University of Maldives is the lead organization. And from Sri Lanka, we have University of Colombo. And from Pakistan, we have Aga Khan University collaborating with us. We have our team members. We have our principal investigator, Dr. Mariam Sharifa. She is on the call today. And we also have Dr. Nasima from Aga Khan University. She is also there listening to us. And we also have Tiromi and Abdul Wali, Tiromi from Sri Lanka and Abdul Wali from Pakistan. So we are a 5 member team. The issue that we are addressing is we are trying to enhance transition from preschool to primary school, focusing on literacy, numeracy, and socio-emotional skills. And our approach is the title of our research says, using the child-to-child approach in trying to address the issue that I've highlighted just now. So we have 3 major objectives. One is to develop a contextually relevant materials for our intervention, which is the play-based child-to-child approach. And then to develop teacher capacity to deliver this particular approach with the materials that have been prepared and then mobilize knowledge. So far, in all three countries, we have come up with the material development, and then we have completed intervention. In most cases, the intervention is almost towards the end. The intervention includes 25 weeks of engaging with the children. So the engagement is in such a way that we have preschoolers who are enrolled in the last grade of the preschool in each of the countries. And these students called young learners are attached with older children called young facilitators, who are from grade 4 or 5, depending on the context. We leave it to the countries to decide which grades the young facilitators are coming from. So the organization is such that we have weekly sessions, 1 hour each week, where the young learners come sit with the young facilitators, and then the young facilitators lead the sessions in going through or executing the materials that we have prepared. And in each week, we have a teacher attached with the young facilitators who will be helping the young facilitators in getting ready for the sessions that they are supposed to take. And then each week after the session, we have a reflection session with the young facilitators. So in this way, we have now finished implementation of almost 25 sessions. We have a 25-week-long intervention. So in Sri Lanka and Maldives, we are almost towards the end. In Pakistan, it's almost towards the midway because the academic years of the countries differ. So we follow the academic calendars. So what we know so far, we have been collecting data, of course, the baseline data, and as well as we have been collecting data throughout the intervention. And the data and the feedback that we get is quite encouraging. We have talked with the teachers, we have talked with the principals, we have talked with the parents, we have also talked with the young facilitators. And of course, we have collected observation data from the classrooms themselves. So as I said just now, the feedback is very encouraging, that we see positive changes in the young learners as well as in the young facilitators. So everybody that we meet and speak says that they want to continue this particular intervention, that they see that interaction of the young facilitators, the older children and the young learners, the younger children, has a really positive impact on children's development, especially the young learners as well as the young facilitators as well. And what we have noticed so far is that once the project is, ended, we are going to end our project in 2026. What we have identified so far is that the teachers and the schools as well seems that they need an external push to carry on this particular, intervention. And we need to find out where this push would come from. And I think that's where the Ministry of Education can come in, so that, the teachers get some kind of encouragement to continue the good things that they are engaged in so far. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vishal, for sharing these emerging insights from the project, and we look forward to seeing the progress in the coming periods as well. And it's a fantastic one. Thank you. Now we will move forward from the KIX research projects. We will move to some insights from the UNESCO Regional Office in Bangkok, which is represented by Rika Yorozu, Program Specialist. Rika.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. So My presentation will focus on knowledge exchange fostered by UNESCO at global and regional levels. UNESCO has set up a mechanism to follow up on the landmark Tashkent Declaration from 2022, as you've been discussing about. And the first knowledge product is the biennial global reports on ECCE. This was one of the asks that was made to UNESCO in the Tashkent Declaration. And the purpose of the report is to hold really the governments, the development partners, and the ECCE stakeholders accountable to the commitments they made in the Global Conference on ECCE. The first report was published in 2024 together with UNICEF to set the stage. Please access the full report or the highlights from the QR code or the links shared in the chat room. And just one key findings from this report was that 21 billion US dollar is required annually for us to reach the goal on SDG 4.2. So we really have to have all the governments, bilateral partners, multilateral partners to invest more on education. The second global report is going to go deeper into this topic, and it will be published together with OECD, which we are trying to position that ECC is a matter for national, social, and economic development. So we look forward to your participation in contributing innovative financing models and practices. The second tool that I'd like to share today is the Compendium of Promising Practices on ECCE. We have established this so that the global report that we will be publishing will be based on evidence and good promising practices. So we now have over 80 contributions in this compendium, and we invite all the speakers and participants in this webinar to contribute good practices to this. And lastly, I'd like to share some of the last slide. Next slide, please. Some of the knowledge that has been published on ECCE in Asia and Pacific by UNESCO. And we invite you all to make full use of these resources, to discuss it, to adapt, translate, and pilot these handbooks and tools that's been developed. And if you need more information or you want to share how it's been used, please reach out to Catherine or me at bgk.ed@unesco.org. And I also like to acknowledge Christy, who has been a long-term contributor to this developmental resources, as well as ARNEC. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this great presentation, Rika. And thank you also for keeping time. And we'll now move to our last presentation of this roundtable. Last but not least, we'll hear from Joel Lassan, Knowledge Management and Learning Advisor at ARNEC. Joel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present. Greetings from ARNEC. Okay, let me just put out my slides. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it. Oh, good.
Okay, very good. Because I'm the last presenter, I will go straight to how ARNEC and partners used evidence in the More Care for Young Children program implemented in Indonesia and the Philippines with the support of the UBS Optimus Foundation. Our main questions were simple. How can we maximize limited local resources for the well-being of the young child? Who can help us make young children ready for early learning and eventually prepare them for pre-primary education? The answer was very clear. It's the village, especially the people and partners who live there and work together. We wanted to turn the community around by working with what they had in the beginning. We have families, parents, and caregivers who look after young children the local workforce, including the health staff, teachers, child development workers, and welfare and protection officers, and of course the district and local governments, which provide budgets and staffing for ECCE services. And then there's a national government setting policies and standards and collecting evidence. We know that the people involved in the local community have unique skills and reasons for their actions. But we also know that they might not collaborate or even agree on what we want to achieve with early childhood care and development. That's why the first step to reform is helping them understand ECCE, convincing them with the right mindset, and creating willingness to work together for the well-being of young children. With diverse stakeholders at sub-national, local levels, we need to know what capacities each stakeholder could potentially offer and on what grounds they could potentially resist. So what we did was to do a baseline research in Indonesia and the Philippines, selecting urban and rural local governments, and also profile the competencies of local stakeholders, including, most especially, their willingness and readiness to work together. And we pulled our expertise and passion together. ARNEC, along with the National Coalition for Holistic Integrative ECD of Indonesia and the ECCD Council of the Philippines, teamed up with local communities with very low resource settings. We wanted to generate good information from the ground up to enhance existing parenting and caregiving programs of the government. In Indonesia, we helped enhance the BKB EMAS program to address stunting and malnutrition among young children. BKB EMAS is a government parenting and caregiving program implemented at the district and village levels. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, we partnered with the ECCD Council to implement I-10, or the Infants and Toddlers Early Development Program, in 2 pilot local governments, one urban and the other rural. These programs focus on young children's health and nutrition in the case of Indonesia and early development in the case of the Philippines, with transformative parenting and caregiving as an entry point for young children below 3 to thrive. We believe these early years programs are necessary so that young children would eventually transition well to preschools and the formal education systems at age 4 to 5, depending on country requirements. So what did we learn? First and foremost, evidence matters in local communities. The first reality is that no village is ever the same. There are nuances and unique priorities for young children, plus readiness issues among local stakeholders, and we were able to identify these through baseline studies. Here, we realize, based on data, that we have diverse starting points, and that's okay, especially if we go for fit-to-context ECCE systems and programs. Second, just as community baseline for ECCE are diverse, we were also faced with different motivations of people and stakeholders. Sometimes they're complementary, in other times they are conflicting. The question, what's in it for me, or WIIFM, help us understand how stakeholders might support or oppose local ECC systems. Building support by knowing where people were coming from and keeping the coalition together is crucial for effective program management, which is not always considered in program designs for ECCE and ECD. Third, government actors at the national, district, and local government levels have different priorities and capacities, which are also not always consistent. Alignment is crucial because it's not fair to assume that everyone in government is always on the same page and wants to work together. After all, they come from different levels, with different approaches and varying levels of skills and motivations. And therefore, we've invested in open communication, feedback, and partnership. In Indonesia, the National Coalition is now preparing guidance notes based on local evidence to help the government in the nuanced implementation of BKB EMAS at the national, district, and local levels. ECCD Council of the Philippines is also enhancing its program management given the diverse willingness and capacities of local governments to implement the infant, toddler, early development program. So our final point, ARNEC and its partners, with the help of UBS Optimist Foundation, were able to reach young children where they are, in their homes and communities, and use evidence to build trust among multiple stakeholders with different starting points and motivations. Use evidence to explore opportunities for working together, and through government-led parenting and caregiving programs, make young children thrive, ready for preschool, and ensuring better opportunities for smoother transition to formal education systems. I end my presentation here. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Joel, for sharing with us these important insights and important messages coming out on the importance of evidence as well. And to make the best of our time, we will now move to a short Q&A session, which will be led by José Luis Canellas, KIX EMAP Hub.
Thank you, Marina. Okay, thank you, Marina. So we received several questions in the chat, and questions that we will not have time today to address. These are questions around the school teachers' attitude, questions around language, culture, around teacher mentoring examples, policy connections with policymakers, around teacher assessment in ECCE, intersections with climate change. We won't have time for that. We had a very rich discussion, but I'd like to ask each one of the speakers, including Joy Nafungo, and if you can also spotlight Joy Nafungo, to, in one sentence, the webinar is calls for action. What can you say to us, a recommended action point to advance ECCE in your in Asia Pacific? So who would like to start first? Should we go the other way around? Joel, would you like to kickstart us on that? One sentence.
One sentence, I think we need to explore the role of local governments. And we have to give them the spotlight, collaborating with national governments. The partnership of the national local is very important for ECCE.
Thank you, Joel. Excellent synthesizing. Rika, would you like to go now?
Okay. If it's one sentence, we have to continue to work together, like how GPE, KIX, ARNEC, and UNESCO, and we don't have UNICEF here today, but like UNICEF and Plan International, we have to work together. Yes.
Thank you, Rika. Let's go now to Vishal and agreed on the working together. Vishal, please.
Thank you. As I highlighted towards the end of my presentation, I think we need support from the Ministries of Education. We are seeing positive results, but to continue, we need support from the Ministry of Education to give a push to carry on with the work.
Thank you, Vishal. Vilasak, over to you.
Yeah, just want to echo what I said, that it's, I think we need to work together from the development partner as well, but we also need to really make sure that it's government is also co-creation, design, implementation, as well as the evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you, Vilasak, again for synthesizing. And Joy, your sentence.
Okay. I'm unmuted, I hope. Yes.
Yes.
Financing. I think while we commit to improving ECE policy, let's also ensure that there is financing, there's funding for it.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you to all the speakers from this roundtable. We will be addressing the questions that were posed in the chat, and we'll be sharing that in a format of a document that will be shared with all the participants. Now, hand over to the closing remarks from both Rika and Evelyn.
Okay, so good afternoon. On behalf of UNESCO and our co-organizers of this webinar, ARNEC and GP KIX, I'd like to really extend my sincere thanks to each of you for staying for 2 hours and to our speakers for sharing your insightful contributions. This deep dive into the state of ECCE in Asia Pacific, anchored in the regional fact sheet on ECCE, which was presented by Catherine, has been both enlightening and a powerful call for urgency. My gratitude goes to the government representatives from the sub-regions of Asia for your openness in sharing the on-the-ground challenges, lessons you're learning from trying to expand your ECCE system. Your perspectives are crucial between the regional data we presented and the national action on the ground. And thank you to our ECCE partners for highlighting concrete resources, evidence, and promising practices that can help us to that turn our challenges into opportunities. And let me just say that the fact sheet has given us the evidence, and today's dialogue has given us the shared context and the solutions in Asia. So our task now is to move from our discussions to a deliberated and coordinated actions. So let's use the Tashkent Declaration as a compass for direction, and the partnership strengthened today as a driving force. So UNESCO, alongside ARNEC and GP KIX EMAP, we really remain deeply committed to supporting your government and the ECC partners in this critical decade of transforming ECCE. And let us leave today with a clear understanding of the challenges and a stronger commitment. Over to Evelyn.
Thank you, Rika. Well, on behalf of ARNEC, I would really like to express our appreciation to UNESCO Bangkok. Very good, and standing partner of ARNEC in the many resources that we develop and we advocate in the field of early childhood development. We also thank GPE Knowledge and Innovation Hub for the opportunity to collaborate on the development of the regional fact sheet and be able to share it in this webinar. I think today's webinar has been very insightful, as we heard a very clear call to action from various stakeholders, from the government, development partners, and civil society as well. Of course, all in response to the many challenges faced by young children in the region. I am not going to repeat what was already mentioned, but I think that the message is very clear, that if we have to improve early childhood care and education in the region, there needs to be a holistic approach that looks at improving financing, the situation of the early childhood workforce, the use of data and evidence, and the importance of multi-sectoral approach to ECCE. There is one call to action that is included in the fact sheet that I would really like to highlight, and that is the need to ensure climate-sensitive ECCE policies, plans, financing, as well as climate-resilient ECCE infrastructure and curricula. The intersection between ECD and climate change is very clear, and we have been advocating for that together with our partners such as UNESCO, UNICEF, and Save the Children. We are also part of the Children and Climate Initiative led by the Oxford University, an initiative that aims to generate evidence on how young children are affected by the different climate risk. How are this affecting the health and development of young children, especially in low and middle income countries, and how would be able to translate the evidence to policy and action at the country level. Just yesterday, ARNEC issued a statement on the recent disasters happening in the Philippines, here in our country, including earthquakes, a series of earthquakes and super typhoons that are severely affecting children, their families, and communities. As we all know, young children are the most vulnerable to the impact of disasters. They are being uprooted and displaced by disasters such as typhoons that have grown larger and more destructive because of climate change. Our statement, and if you get the chance to visit our website, the full statement is there, but it calls for the need to ensure the safety and protection of young children and their families in times of disasters, not just in the Philippines, but in other countries as well. And so, as we all advocate for better ECCE services, we need to also strongly advocate the need for cleaner, safer, and more resilient environment for young children. And there are a lot of resources that we have developed together with our partners that you can access in the Knowledge Hub of ARNEC, the ECD and Climate Knowledge Hub in our website. Once again, thank you everyone for participating in this webinar. Thank you to the organizers, and thank you to all our speakers and moderators. And good day, everyone.